Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to do some web design programming. But first, let me check a couple settings. Okay, good. Sorry, I've been having some issues with the stream, so just want to make sure it was working correctly. And let's switch lights real quick. There we go. That should be a little bit better now. I'm not as pasty white now. But what we're going to do is create a website, as you can see, using Visual Studio 2019, latest version. And we want to create a new project because we're starting from scratch. And we want this in C#, and the type is going to be web. Now we just got to scroll down here to empty ASP.NET empty website. But for those that don't have that one listed, come down here to install more tools and features. Of course, click yes on the pop-up that comes up from Windows. Wait for the installer to load. And now you want to make sure ASP.NET and web development is checked. Then over here on the right hand side under optional, I'm going to go to the bottom and make sure additional project templates previous versions is checked. Install it and wait for it to be done and you'll be good to go. Then you'll see this one. So as we're creating an e-commerce website, no clue what it'll be about. Well, I have an idea what it'll be about right now, but no clue what it'll be named, so we'll just call it this e-commerce 1. And let's change the default directory for this. We'll put it under my websites and create. And as you see, we're using framework 4.7.2. That is one of the latest versions, so it'll have the most flexibility for anything we need. And it'll bring you right here to just a blank web page, or a blank format. And so we're going to do this in master content format layout using ASP.NET. And we're going to throw some W3 CSS and CSS3, HTML5 in there. And we're going to be jumbling a few different languages together all into one. I chose master content layout just because it's easy to do when you don't have a content delivery network to go off of. So we're going to come up here to File, New, File, and we want a master page. Although I forgot to do this beforehand. Let's go and rename you to just main.master. I would say main master, but by default, all the master pages have a .master extension. And let's go ahead and create us a new folder, add folder, and we'll call it masters. And we'll go and stick you in there. Click OK. And there, it is now saved over there. Now, just like any other e-commerce website, we need a section up top for banner, navigation, things like that, logo. Then we need a section on the left for search results, or search filters and stuff, a middle for the main content of the page, and a right-hand side for some advertisements. So let's start off. First, I'm going to put a space right here between title and this, because this section, the content placeholder for the head, we always want that to be at the bottom of the head section. That is because whatever we put up here will be for the master page. Anything that goes in here is from subsequent pages, and so we want it to be able to overwrite what's up here from the master page. Because who knows, we might have to change something down the road. Now, you're probably going to have a contact form, a submit form for payments, things like that. And of course, browsers don't really like forms within forms. So just go ahead and delete that part. Now we need 4 sections for the body. One for the header section, which is going to be controlled by the main master page. So let's go and create a div section for that. And let's just go ahead and give it an ID right now of top section. There we go. Now, the search results or search filters, that's going to depend on what page we're looking at from here. So, as these are content placeholders, we'll just use that CPH. We'll go to left side. And we'll leave that there. Now we need another one, except this one we're going to call CPH center content, because this one will be displaying the content in the middle. And then we need one over on the right hand side, which is going to display the advertisements and stuff, which won't really be controlled by the subsequent pages, but we might change our mind later on, and so who knows. But for now, let's just go and give it a division of an ID for the division with right side. And go and close that off. Now, one thing when dealing with master content pages, W3 CSS, things like that, or even Bootstrap, React, Angular, whatever have you, this design view is not really going to be of much help because it won't view this stuff correctly. So let's just go and switch that to source, get rid of it. But I'll go ahead and save this. And I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I like to view my changes as I do them. That way it's easier to find what exactly needs to be changed as I'm going, instead of having to search through hundreds of lines of codes just to figure it out. So from here, we're going to go ahead and right click on this, on the master page, and click Add Content Page. And this will bring up one that says Default. Go ahead and take that design view out. And let's go and put those in a separate folder for now. And we will name that Pages. Now these links, like this one up here, won't need to be changed because it's going off a relative path from the root directory for the website. So no matter what, it'll still stay the same. Hold on. Sorry, my neck was getting stiff. So this will still run just perfectly fine. And as you see, it already has those 3 placeholders listed. But now to view the changes as we go along, we need to play the ISS or IIS of it. That way it creates a little server down here, as you'll see, IIS Express. But let's see, what is this error? Because this should not be showing. Whoops, wrong one. Let's go and close you out real quick. Get rid of that. If you're on the default page, which should show as a blank page for now, let's try running this again. There we go. Not sure what was going on there. So, and this is in a separate tab. Let's go and just move it over here with everything else. We'll put it right there. Now, as you may have heard me mention, we're going to use the w3.css. So, I forget what the web address is for. So we'll just, whoops. I forgot, you type that in there, it's going to think it's the actual web address. So let's go to google.com real quick, w3.css, and here we go. W3 CSS. Keep in mind I'm relatively new to this version of it. Bootstrap, Angular, React, things like that, those run off a combination of JavaScript and jQuery, which requires the user to have at least JavaScript enabled on their devices. But not all of them have it. And plus it can display differently for each one. Well, the W3C World Wide Web Consortium is there for standards for the internet browsers. So it'll display the same across all browsers, especially since this one is done in a CSS format. As you see, they even put their own little disclaimer up here, equal for all browsers and all devices. And as you see right here, there's no jQuery or JavaScript in it. It is purely a CSS-based one, which works perfectly fine. So let's go and get it added. We want to go behind here to versions, and there's a regular version or a pro version. The only real difference is this line right here. The pro version is designed for using themes or other color classes supplied by the developer. Well, we're perfectly fine with using the ones provided by the W3 CSS. So we'll go and come over here to downloads. And as you see, they provide the link to download it if that's what you want to do, to just put a page on your website for it. Or you can do like I do and just link to it. That way any updates get translated over to your website as well. This we want over here on the main page, on the master page. So I'll go and add that. There, now that's part saved. We're going to add some other links and stuff later on as time goes on. But as for what we're going to do with this, as we need something to go off of, that way we know what layout to go with, what navigation to put in, things of that sort. Well, what I decided to go with is an aquarium company. Basically, I've always loved saltwater tanks. The color's just beautiful in them. But unfortunately, I don't have the money for that. So right now, I'm sitting here with a 75-gallon freshwater tank, fully self-sustained. I kid you not. I haven't fed that thing in a few months. I haven't even cleaned the filter in many times longer than that. Filled with guppies. There's a beta, a couple black coolie loaches, an albino plecostomus, a couple clown plecostomus. Well, albino bristlenose plecostomus. Let me go back and rephrase that one. A regular bristlenose plecostomus, a few mystery snails. And I think that's about it that's in there. But it's also using a combination of spiky and weeping moss, along with real driftwood, real Mopani driftwood, and a fluorite substrate. This way, the waste and stuff from the fish gets broken down in the filter because I took the chemical filter out, the charcoal filter. That way it doesn't take the nutrients out for the plants, and those nutrients get broke down from nitrite. Wow, I can't even speak today. Let's try this again. From ammonia to nitrite to nitrate. Sorry, that becomes a tongue twister after a while. Nitrite and nitrate. And then that nitrate is used by the plants and stuff for growth. Along with a few other things in the substrate, a few other chemicals like magnesium, iron, potassium, things like that, phosphorus. And then the fish just kind of eat the plants, and without feeding them, the guppies will eat their weakened counterparts, and the beta will also eat the weakened counterparts to help keep the guppy population under control. Otherwise, guppies spawn faster than you can blink. You can put 2 guppies inside a 5-gallon tank, and within a month it'll be overrun if you don't keep control over it. So that's what not feeding it helps do, along with the 1 beta I have in there. And just in case you're wondering, I use the Zoomed Mopani driftwood for aquariums. They have a reptile version, but I'm afraid that version might have special chemicals for the reptile terrariums instead, because the aquarium version has to have no chemicals whatsoever. And I know it does leak tannins and stuff over the course of time, but if you leak most of them up beforehand and you use Seachem's Purigen filtration media, it'll help keep the tannins out of the water. That way it doesn't create the Amazon black tea look. Unless that's what you're going for, then, by all means, don't put any Purigen in it and let the tannins just kind of take over. It is a slightly more acidic water when you do it that way, but depending on what fish you want, they can benefit greatly from that. But for just guppies and stuff, no, it's not really going to work for too well for them. And then for the substrate, it's the Seachem Black Sand Fluorite substrate. That way, it looks nice and good, nice smooth texture, not too rough for the underbellies of the loaches and the plecostomuses, or even the snails. Oh, I forgot, there's a couple of gobies in there too. Forgot about them. They don't populate as much though. But yep, that just creates one giant cycle and it's completely maintenance free. And I can guarantee you 100% that the pH right now, without even doing a test on it, granted I did one like a month ago, I do them about once a month, is the pH is 7.0, ammonia 0, nitrate 0, well, nitrate down 1 or 2 I should say, nitrates down around 10, and all other parameters within check. Of course, there's going to be no chlorine because that'd be bad. Yep, and in case you're wondering, I'm using the an Eheim canister filter, along with some of their. I'm using one tray for their mechanical filter with the smallest, with the highest PPI they have. That way, create smaller pores because there's more pores per inch. I'm using 2 trays of their biological filter media, the ceramic tube looking things. And then on the top one, because it's a 75-gallon tank, so I have one with 4 trays in it. And the top one has 2 Seachem, the bags, filled with 250 milliliters of Seachem Purigen each, along with a polishing filter, well, a 2-stage polishing filter as well. And a couple power heads in there to keep the water flowing from side to side. That way it keeps circulating and there's no real dead spots. And I forget what the light is. I've had that one for years. It's a brand that's no longer around. So, and unfortunately, some lights are starting to go out in it, even though it's an LED. So I'm gonna have to replace that. But the thing's like 6, 7 years old. So I'm surprised it's lasted this long. Seeing as how it runs 24/7. But it has a light mode, or daylight mode, and a nighttime mode set on an automatic timer that comes with. But anyway, so I've always wanted a saltwater aquarium. Stuck with this one for right now. I could have changed this one over to a saltwater when I moved, since I had to empty it anyways. But there's a couple issues with that. It has a tempered glass bottom, which means you can't really drill it for a hole without running a very high risk of breaking it. And with 75 gallons of water, you're looking, I think it was like 800 pounds. Let's see, 75. Whoops. Oh, no. 600 pounds for just the water. That's not including substrate and the driftwood. Because that driftwood gets really heavy. And it doesn't displace that much water. Not enough to make for up for its weight. So we're probably looking about 800 pounds in there. So even a slight crack on the bottom wouldn't do much good. So I can't quite put an overflow in it. Well, the only real overflow I could put would be one that goes over the edge. But there's 2 types for those. You have the automatic version, which requires an air pump hooked up to it. Yeah, not even gonna get started with how loud those things can be. They've probably quieted over the years, but right now, if I was to turn everything off in this room, I still wouldn't be able to hear this aquarium. An air pump, I would. But they have that automatic version, and the other versions run off a siphon. Granted, the air pump version runs off a siphon once it's started too, but the only real issues with that is since the sumps for a saltwater aquarium are open topped. Yes, you can use a canister filter for them, but it's not as easy to set up for a saltwater aquarium. It takes some real skill and real careful adjustments to make a Punisher filter work for a saltwater aquarium. So it's just an open top. Gravity feeds water to the bottom, and a pump pumps it back up into the tank. Well, there's two issues with that. One, if the siphon breaks, the water in your sump's going to empty. And so all that water's going to go back up to your tank and overflow it. The other issue is if your pump goes out, well, that gravity is just going to keep feeding water down and down and down. Now, I don't know about what everybody else here thinks, but for me, this aquarium has that's about 2.5, 3-inch black border on the top, to hide the water level basically, and it looks perfect just like that. But if you put an overflow in, yes, it will stop because the siphon will have to break once it runs out of water, because all it does is basically skim the top of the water. So it'll break after a while, but by then you're either gonna, you can see the water level at that time, which would be a good indicator, hey, something's wrong. But by then, is it really gonna overflow your sump by then? Because you have to get a tall-sided sump to counteract it, unless you have a really wide sump. The other part is for the pump. Well, no. If the pump goes out, the siphon will, break after a while when the water level gets so low. But if your siphon breaks, you have to have a extra switch in your sump to turn the pump off to stop it from pumping water back in. But you'd have to have that in a real finely tuned place because there's not much water in that 3 inches. Actually, let's pull up a calculator real quick. Water volume calc. Where's this tank volume calculator? We'll go right here. So length of mine is 36 inches. Oops, I don't want a cylinder. I just want a standard rectangle. So length 36 inches, width 18 inches. Height of mine is 18 inches as well. But we're just going to do for that 3 inches there for that top part. So according to that, it's a whole 8.5 gallons. And when you have a large sump, because you got to fit a mechanical filter, you got to fit a skimmer, you got to fit heaters, you got to fit your return pump, plus all the baffles and stuff in there to keep bubbles from going from one section to the next section and destroying what you have there. It can get real wide after a while. So 8.5 gallons might not be enough to overflow that sump if you get it just a few inches taller, like 6 inches taller and it's half the size of that aquarium already. But in that 6 inches though is where you'd have to put your float or your sensor for your pump, return pump. So it doesn't quite help with that. You'd have a very small window to put it in. It'd have to be right there. So unless you have something else, with those baffles, it'll help stop waves and stuff. But with those baffles, you also have sections that'll be higher in water level and sections that'll be lower. So yeah, sumps really don't work for me right now. But anyways, back to the website. So I decided, well, when I wanted a saltwater aquarium, I figured I'd price things out, see about how much it would cost and things like that. Well, during my search, I came across a website called Bulk Reef Supply. Now, keep in mind, I've never actually bought anything from them, so I'm not sure how their customer service and things like that are. But the layout of the website's pretty good. Good enough to use for reference material right now. We'll fine tweak things as things go on and things like that. but we'll use it for a reference point. So for that, let's go and just half the browser, or half the window. And keep in mind on your end it'll look really weird, because I'm using a 3440 by 1440 ultra wide monitor. Now on a full screen monitor, even just it'll look, like things are taller than what they actually are, just because of the scaling from my monitor to your monitor. Wide monitor, it won't look so bad, but yeah, you'll definitely see some differences. So let's go and get started. This top section, right here, we will include this part right here as well. So let's go ahead and do that as, we'll say 300 pixels tall. So, wait, real quick, before we even get started on that, just so that way everything displays correctly as we're going along, and things like that, so that way we can see the effect that our changes are actually having, we need some lorem ipsum. If I can even type today. And so, oops, we want a generator for it. Lorem ipsum is not really a language. It looks a lot like Latin if you look at it, but it's not quite Latin. It's said to have its basis in Latin because a few words actually are Latin in it. But what it's really doing is creating false text that has, roughly the same even spacing of characters, same usage of vowels and consonants, words per paragraph, words per sentence, things like that, and as English does. So it's basically false English, we'll say. So we want to do a couple different ones. We want 5 paragraphs for one section. So let's go and copy it. And we want that for the left side, the right side, and the center. So let's go and add that in here. Add a paragraph, paste the content. Now, without actually specifying each one of these as a paragraph, it's just going to display as one block anyways. But just so we know it's one block, let's just go and make it one block. This way, at first glance, we can easily see where it ends and where it begins. There we go. Now, what we need to do is to copy this and paste it down here for the center content. Except for the center content, we do this a little different. Oh, but we'll have that copied though. Let's go and paste it over here on the left side. There we go. Oh no, wrong one. Going on the right side. Sorry about that. Save. Center content, since that's going to be a bit bigger, let's go and increase this count to, we'll say 20 paragraphs. And generate. Copy. Paste it right in there. And let's go ahead and do this. Whoops. Make this one continuous block again so it's easier on the eyes. There we go. One continuous section. And we're going to come back to all this whole default page later on. But right now we just want the master page. Top section, we're not going to place anything in yet because having actual context in there, like lorem ipsum, just won't quite work for us. After all, we're putting navigation and stuff in there, not actual words, not paragraphs of stuff. So if we come back here, refresh it, And keep in mind, once you have this pulled up in the browser, you can actually disable it from here. That way you can edit these easier. But as you see, here it is. Here's the left section, here's the right or the middle section, and right here's the right section. Looks pretty full right now, but we're going to fix that. And for those that want, you can come over here to the loremipsum.io generator and come down here, and here's a history of it to read and stuff. Like right here's where partially where it gets its word from Latin. In particular, the garbled words of lorem ipsum bear an unmistakable resemblance to sections 1.10.32-33 of Cicero's work, with the most notable passage excerpted below. Blah, blah, blah. Right here's lorem ipsum, which, as you see, is right here. Next, dolor sedimet is right here, along with constructor adibski velii sed after that. So it's all that section right there, which is actually Latin. But, you know, like I said, you can come over here, read this whole history thing. It's a big, long thing over here. Not too long for my taste. I just kind of got the gist of lorem ipsum throughout the years, so. So now back over here. Top section. Let's go ahead and put a style up here for it. So add a style section. And we want this for the ID top section. And we want this as a height of 300 pixels for now. Width, we're not going to set a pixel part. We're going to set a percent of 100%. This way, big screens, small screens, narrow screens, wide screens, whatever have you, it's going to display across the entire top section. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, we need to give it some kind of definition so we can actually see what it is. Or see where it is. As you see right now, it just looks like a blank white section. So let's go and do that. We will add a class. And we need a color. W3, we'll say amber. It works. First color on the list. And there, now we can see what the section actually looks like. The only problem with this is if you remember correctly, I said it's going to hold this whole section up here, along with the navigation. Well, we need to kind of split this apart in two. So let's go and rephrase this. Take that class back out. Now we need to add two div sections within this div. So we'll go div ID equals. This time we don't want top section. Well, no. Actually, let me rephrase it. This time we will use top section. Change this down to 200 pixels. Top section. Go ahead and add that class back in. And there's that one. Now we need another one. Div ID equals top navigation. And we'll do the next class, color class down the list. So let's see, we did amber. What's the next one? Aqua. Aqua works. Go ahead and close out that div. And now we need to set it up here. Now let's go ahead and, as we're always going to want the top section and the top navigation to be the same width, let's go and take the width out of here. And we'll add another section up here. We'll do top section, comma, top navigation. And we'll do width at 100% here. And now let's see. We need a top navigation. And 100 pixels will probably work for now. Whoops. For height. Alright, 100 pixels. Good. There we go. Now let's see that division work. There we go. As you see, still same height, just different sections now. And what did you know? Theirs is about only 225 pixels tall from here to here. But no big deal. We're just putting things in here for now, just to see how it looks. As I said, we'll do fine tweaking as time goes on. Now, we need to go ahead and format the rest of this. That way it looks decent. Because right now it still looks like a whole big mess. Now here is where it can become a little tricky. We want to come over here to the W3C for responsiveness. We're going to scroll all the way down because we are using the 12 column layout. And as you see, this blue section will display as 12 columns on a small screen, 4 on a medium, and 3 on a large, whereas the green section will display 12 columns on a small screen, 8 on a medium, and 9 on a large. Well, if you look, 9 and 3 is 12 columns, just like there is. 8 and 4 is 12 columns, just like there is. 12 and 12 is 24. Well, as you see right now, this one's only displaying 3, and this one's displaying 9. We're at a large screen right now. But let's go ahead and shrink that down some. It's going to make you narrower. There we go. And now you see 4 and 8. We're on a medium screen. As I said, I'm doing an ultra wide monitor, so it takes a little bit for it to get down there for me. There we go. We're on a small screen now. And as you see 12 columns above 12 columns. Except here, instead of the columns being side by side, they're one on top of each other. Which is just the way we want it. So let's go and get that taken care of right now. So for this left side, whoops, wrong spot. We want to do this within the content placeholder tag. No, I'm sorry, my bad. We want to do this within the div tag. Placeholder tags can't have styles. Shouldn't really have classes either, but this way anything we place in the placeholder tag, plus anything extra we place from the main master page, will be in that same section without dividing it into two. So class equals W3 column. First, let's backtrack here for a moment. This section is good because both these are rows. But here, as we're doing 3 sections, we need this whole thing to be a row. So we're going to go and add a div here. Now we're not even going to give this one ID. We're just going to say class equals W3 row. And we're going to leave the padding out of it. We don't want any padding right now. And close it out. And take the closing div down here. Oops. Now let's go and indent this. That way it looks better for readability. There we go. Indent that. So now that these are rows, these can be columns. So now that we have this one labeled as a column, we want it to display as, for now we'll give it 2 columns on a large screen. We can probably do 2 columns on a medium screen. But on a small screen, as you see the columns are one on top of each other, we only want it as 1 row. That way we can play with it later on. And now we can do the same thing with this one. Class equals W3 call for column. Now as this is going to be the center content, we need to decide how wide we want the right-hand side content to be. Because if we put just W3 rest in here, it'll have the left-hand side is 2 columns, the middle is 10 columns, and then have the right-hand side is 2 columns underneath it. So we don't want rest, and that's just because it goes line by line. So of course the other 2 columns haven't been introduced yet before rest has. So let's go and get this taken care of. We want this one on a large screen. We'll just give it 1 column on the right-hand side for now. So that leaves 9 columns to spare. On a medium screen, we'll probably want that to be 2 columns on the right. So we'll just have 8 columns. And then on a small screen, we'll just give it 12 columns. You know what, we'll just give this one 12 columns too for now. But we're going to be coming back and editing it anyways, so. And on the right hand side, we want class equals W3 column. And as we now know, we have 2 and 9 for the large screen, so 1. We have 2 and 8 for the middle screen, medium screen, so 2. And then we just want S12. So 12 columns on that. But, you know, come over here, refresh it. Yeah, it looks a little better now. But where does it begin and where does each one end? Yeah, we can see by the left-hand side here. But you come down here like this right here, it's kind of harder to tell. So let's go and get that corrected. Let's give these colors now. W3, what's the next A color? Oh, definitely not auto. So I guess we'll come over here to B colors. Black works. Now I know what you're thinking. Black text, black background. We're not going to be able to see a thing. Well, that's the one good thing about using the W3 CSS version of Bootstrap. Is it automatically puts the font in a high contrast color away from the background, so that way it's easier to see and more accessible to everybody. Without having to set a background color and a text color separately. You know, unless you actually want them 2 different colors apart from what this sets. So like black, I'll have white text. So now let's come down here, this one, W3-B. And next one is blue. And now for the last one, W3-B. What's the next one? Blue-gray. As you see, there's 2 blue-grays. One with an E, one with an A for gray. Only real difference, one's English spelling from England, one's English spelling from America. They're both going to display the exact same color, no matter which one you choose. Here, we'll even illustrate it. We're doing the right-hand side is gray with an A. We'll just come up here and change aqua from the navigation section to be blue-gray with an E. Save, display. As you see, there's no border color difference. It looks the exact same. So let's go and change this one back to aqua. And you'll see that in the G colors as well for just plain up gray. There you go. Now we can clearly see where each one begins, which one ends. As for the padding inside, we'll get to that later on as we start filling it with things. That way we know about how much padding we want for each section. But this is good. We have colors to differentiate what's where, and we have content to fill them out. That way we can see just how big each section is. And we have it scrollable. That way if we want stuff to be placed at the absolute bottom, we'll have to come down here, scroll, and here's the bottom. Whereas if we want stuff that's fixed to the browser itself that scrolls with you, we'll be able to see that too. But as you see, this is a large screen here. And look, here's our small screen. Now let's go and widen up some. And here's our medium screen. As you see now, the left and right hand side both look just as white as each other. And you can even tell in the text. Tempor, incident. Whereas if we come back over to the large screen, they no longer match up. Like this one ends in Dorset Emet, whereas Set Emet is now down here. So you can definitely see the column difference now. But now that that's done, we need to go ahead and add some navigation. As we're not too sure about logo and what else we're going to be throwing up here, we're going to save that section for later. But for now, we'll go and just copy down what they have here for different things. So let's go ahead and work on that. So for this, as you see, this is all going to be one row. So we need to make this div section for navigation a row. So w3-row, and we're good. Now for this, we need to do each one of these. Now there's a few different suggestions you can do with this, depending on how you want to go. Let's see. What's it? Panels, borders, cards, maybe. Yeah, you can do cards if you really want to, but they're not really the most useful for things like this. Text, where was it? Maybe. Tables. And tables won't quite work either because I just see they're for actual tables. Let's see, where was it? Just click through all these real quick. Yeah, layout. What's in here you can use, but I see it won't really be the most useful because these are done in cells. There are a couple good parts about cells. Heck, where is it? Yep, like the width of the cell row determines the total width of all contained cells. That's because each cell will take up a certain section of it. So if you have 100 pixels and you have two cells in it, each one's going to take up 50 pixels, for example. And you can clearly see that right here. If you change the width of the cell container, it will reduce the total width of the contained cells. But here's one good part about cells, is they have a built-in self-adjusting method, where they're each going to be the same height as the one next to them, no matter how wide they are. So that's one good thing about them, as you can see. So for navigation, it definitely works wonders. But, it's kind of up to you if you really want to use that one or not. What we want for ours is it can be under the actual navigation section. And there's a few to choose from. You have a few listed up here. Scroll through here. Basic navigation, responsive navigation, just based on screen size, which is nothing more than this class modifier right here, which we're going to get into much later. So on a large screen and medium screen, yeah, it can display, well, yeah, it can display all of them. But then when you get to a small screen, you're not going to want all these navigation icons. You're going to want something like a menu button that you press and it opens up the navigation. So we're not really going to be doing this mobile section here. Yeah, you can color them, you can do borders, active links, current links, whatever you want to say. That's something more to be done down the road with JavaScript. That way we can come back up here to the master page and add this, in this case W3 green class, to say which one's actually active. Because as you see, there's no real just W3 active type modifier. It's just whichever one has the color on it. Hoverable links. As you see, you can change the color of the hover. We don't really want to do that yet. Change the text color. You see, that one gets to be a big, long one even. W3 hover text white. Well, you gotta set the actual text color. And you gotta set hover to none. So right here, this whole section right here, those three classes basically define that here's the default color, here's the hovered color, and that there's no hover color change. But there's different hover effects, lines, this one just adds a line. This one adds a color line. This one changes the little text of the color of the text and the color of the line. And this one adds, a border color. You can play around with it, do whatever you want. Right line links, we're definitely going to be using those because we got a cart and a login, which will be over to the right hand side of it. But whether that's over the navigation section or in the top section, we have yet to determine. And of course, height. Let's see, icons, which is going to be useful because it has icons for login. It has icons for a cart. As you see, there's just basic icons even. And you can go through many different icons because you'll have not only the W3 library to go through, which is FA Awesome or something like that. I forget what exactly the web address is for them. But you also have the Google icons to go through. Or you can just put regular text in there, but I really don't see a point for a navigation part, but apparently someone does. See, we're definitely going to want to search in ours, so we're going to come back to that. We want these other links first. Now we know we're going to have a drop down in them. After all, you come over here to this controllers and here. We'll just do auto top off, something real simple. As you see, there's 4 sections in there already. We got systems, pumps, reservoirs, switches, and we're not going to be including any videos on ours yet, so we can just discard that. Like additives even. If you want to go by brand up here, you can. As you see, there's a whole bunch of them. Or you can do by what they do, which, as you can see, is many different things. Calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium, core nutrition, trace elements, biofiltration, elements and color enhancers, problem solvers, seawater supplements, seawater treatments. You got many different ones. So we definitely want a clickable navigation, or a drop-down navigation. Now, as you see, there's a hover one or a clickable one. And depending what you want depends on which one you use. If you just can do a one level like this, you can get around by with just a clickable or a hoverable. It's up to you. But if you want to add a second layer to this, it's like you click, we'll say this drop down is RODI filters, RODI filters, reverse osmosis and deionization filters. Exactly what aquarium water needs. 100% pure H2O. That way you're working with a clean slate and can just add elements in that are needed. That way it takes all excess elements out. You no longer have to deal with those. You just have to deal with the ones you yourself put in and that have come from the biological filtration of an aquarium through natural processes. It's like, say this one's Rhodey filters. Well, you got many different types. You have like 90 gallon per day filters like mine is. You have 60 gallon per day. You have 180 gallon per day. You have different filter types: sediment filter, lead filter, copper filter, chlorine filter. Many different types. So you can always put that in here, like 90 gallon per day filter systems. Well, do you need filter media? Do you need filter housings? Do you need full systems? You can do that with a clickable dropdown. Because especially since you click out of it and it still stays there. Whereas if you do a hoverable dropdown, yes, you come over, hover over here, and then hover over here, but say while you're hovering over, like most people tend to, you actually go down here and you hover off it. It can be a big mess for some people. So clickable dropdown is definitely the way to do it if you want to do a 2-level one. But right now we can get by with just 1 level. So we can definitely just do a hoverable dropdown. But now we got to decide on how we want the content inside it to be. We could do simple vertical like most things, or we can do horizontally. Well, depending on what we put in this drop down, put pictures like bulk reef supply has BRS, or just links with words. It's kind of up to us. We'll decide that part later. And then here's the responsive one. As you see, the only real difference, bar item button, is that it has the mobile side of it, which we discussed up top. Just list links on top of each other on a small screen, which we don't want. And fixed navigation bar. You can see in their little demo here. That one's fixed to the top, whereas this one's fixed to the bottom. Yeah, we don't want that. So we're going to skip that. And vertical navigation bar like you'd see on left-hand side. Or collapsible navigation bar. Resize the browser to see the effect. This is what we're basically going to be doing later on. You come over here, collapse it. And we're on a medium screen right now. Actually, no, I'm sorry, this is a medium screen. And you see it takes all those icons, links out, and puts it over here into a menu. Now if you scroll down here to a small screen, I see theirs isn't really set to change here, but you can always change it for yourself, whether you want to do that on a medium screen or a small screen. And that's exactly what we want. And then you have actual side navigation over here. So, yep, we want to do a collapsing navigation bar. But before we get into all that, so you got to do a hide, hide large, hide medium, all this other stuff to it. And you got to have two of them. Because this one's going to be hidden when it's small. This one's going to be hidden when it's large or medium. So we'll get back to that one. First off, we just need to put the items in here to begin with. So let's scroll back up here to the navigation bar with drop down, the hoverable version. As you see, the only real difference between these, you got drop down content, bar block. They have theirs as card 4, but bar block, card 4. The only real difference you can see is right here, this button that says when it's clicked, then show. If it's not clicked, don't show, which we don't want. So let's just go ahead and copy this stuff over right now. So since we're not going to be just putting any actual column heights or columns in here, no 12 grid layout. We actually want to change that from row to bar. Now we can go ahead and add bar items, which are your links. And these are simple anchor sections. So anchor href equals blank for now, but class equals w3 bar item and w3 button. And of course, close the front out, and we'll call this one home. And we want many of these. Not sure how many we need, so we'll just make a bunch. And look, there they are. Since they're in navigation, they're not in this section, and they will always be in this aqua section. You see, that's a lot of home icons, just for home. But let's go and fill it up. So we have home, reverse osmosis, rock. Now you can put an actual word and in here, but on some of these larger ones, like skimmers, reactors, and filtration, it'll just bring it out to be wider. So my suggestion, just put the ampersand in. So rock and sand. additives, additive pop off, and you'll see why I say that later on. Controllers and testing. Filter and water media, fish and coral foods. Flagging supplies, those are critical. That's how you propagate most corals. Along with anemones, amoebas, basically things that are stuck to the side or bottom of the aquarium that are living. Heaters and chillers. Oops. Let's take that N out. There we go. Lighting. Pumps and plumbing. Salt and maintenance. Skimmers. Reactors. And filtration. And then sumps and tanks. And to delete the rest of these. There we go. So we have our basics now. As you see, they're now of different sizes. Let's go and get that corrected. So for the top navigation, we need to do this as a separate section. Top navigation, and this is for the A links. With we'll say, let's see how wide 25 pixels will be. Yeah, definitely not wide enough. You can't even make out home. Let's do this as 75 pixels. Oops. I don't want to do that. There, 75 pixels. Alright, you can see most of them, but we need that a little wider yet. So we'll do 100 pixels. There we go. And we can see most of it. So let's go ahead and increase that to 125 pixels. We're probably going to be adjusting those font size and stuff later on anyways, so. And of course, just so we can see it all on one screen, on one line. There we go. As you see, each one's the same width. And they all display all their words perfectly fine. Except that one, because I forgot the D. There we go. There, that looks better. Now the issue is they're all different heights. So if you notice, we set the height of the navigation, but we never set the height of the links. So let's go ahead and take the height out here and add it down here. After all, this section will always be as tall as its content, which in this case is 100 pixels. Yeah, so that looks good and all, except everything's at the top. We want everything centered better. So let's see, what on this are we missing? Nope, we have bar item and button. We're good to go. Yeah, because they're right here. Except this is where everything looks funny, because we don't have them set as drop downs yet. So let's go ahead and do that. Each one's going to have its own div with a class of W3 drop down. I see there's the click one. There's content actually just display content. Or hover. So, and that, come down here, we want the drop down for it. See, here's where I mess up, because, yeah, I wasn't thinking completely. So here we want these to actually be buttons with a class of button. And of course, here's where we put things like reverse osmosis. And then, and then each one will have different links within it. So let's go and fill that as a blank section for now. Div class equals w3 drop down content. And we do want these to be displayed as a block. So w3 bar block. And there's that card 4 thing again. Well, let's come back here to layout and see what card 4 actually is. Was it here? Cards, my bad. And so here we go. W3 card, card 2, card 4. Only real difference between them is the border they display. Card has this thin border. Card 2, slightly bigger border. Card 4, a definitely noticeable border. So like for this navigation, as you see, they used a card 4 border. Looks good, helps it pop out from the screen some. So we'll take a bite out of that. Card 4. Now keep in mind, 4 is not just saying, it's not saying how many columns to take up or anything like that, just the width of the border. Now we'll go ahead and end that. And let's go and just copy over these links. Just for display purposes right now. There we go. Now watch, this will be centered much better now. Well, once I elongate it again. You see that border helps it come up from the page. So we can go ahead and just remove this reverse osmosis. Now we just need to do that a few more times. Like I said, me being the idiot I am, I did these as A-links first. So let's get this corrected. Let's make this even easier on myself. Delete all that. Copy just one. Move that so it's just one word, so I'm just double click it and copy. Or in my case, paste. Speaking of paste, reminds me. Back when tech support was really in India, like I kid you not, you call Microsoft tech support, don't even think about getting someone in the US. This was back in the early days of home computers and the internet. Anyways, you call Microsoft tech support. To them, it wasn't copy and paste. It was chop and glue. Chop and glue. Took me a moment to realize, hey, they were talking about copy and paste. Chop and glue just did not ring a bell for me. Whoops. Not what I wanted. Let's try that again. There we go. And now just delete those. Sorry for backtracking on that, folks. But now come over here and everything will look weird again. But as you see, they all have drop downs. But you see that one's still displaying just like we want it to. So for that, we need to come up here. And one thing about this, as you see, it says top navigation A, anchors. So any anchors within this top navigation section, whether they're the home one or these ones below it, they're all going to display the same. 125 pixels wide, 100 pixels high. Not quite what we were going for. So we need to narrow this down some. So let's just make this a little easier on it. And make this, whoops, add another class to this. This class we will call A, links. Now let's go into hashtag top navigation dot for this top hashtag for the ID of the top navigation section, dot for the class, and then A links. Now what that'll do, I see this one doesn't change any, but these did. These are no longer part of it. And using a class means I can reuse it later on if I have to add other buttons to this that aren't drop downs. Such as if I want to put a cart over on the right hand side. It'll be a button, but not necessarily drop down. We have yet to decide on that part. So having that reusability right now really helps. Sorry, that space was annoying me. But now we need to make these back to the way they were. So we are going to do hashtag top navigation, and then we want the button identifier. And these. No, actually, this is a different one. A links, comma, button. And there. And see, they're all the same size again. And now if you notice, as these are button classes, everything's perfectly centered. Centered left to right, top to bottom, we're good. But we need to make this one match. How do we make this one match? Hey Glenn too, how you doing? Sorry, hold on folks, I gotta turn my fan on, it's getting hot in here. I'm in the basement where it's supposed to be cooler, and yet it's getting hot in here. Even though we're like starting winter already where I live. We've already had 2 snowfalls. 3 if you count the partial one from earlier today. Well, Glenn, I'm not doing too bad. As you can tell, we're just doing some web programming. How you been? So let's see. Back to home. How do we make this centered with everything else? That's going to be an issue. So we'll do this one. We can just do the whole class itself. So dot A links. Let's see, we can do a vertical line middle, which is supposed to put it in the middle for vertical. But I see that doesn't quite work for these. Contemplating adding a feature to a project of mine. What kind of feature? More of a cosmetic feature, a helpful feature, something that's been in desperate need of on your project and hasn't gotten around to yet? So let's see. Ah, yeah, CSS management can definitely be a good one, especially when you have numerous CSS pages. I've seen some websites have one for each and every page. Sometimes pages have 5 of them. And sometimes they're not even used, but they're linked there for God only knows what reason. But that's on them. We're just doing this for this section. Having a master content layout, we won't really need extra CSS pages on the side because it'll pull the CSS from each section on down. And it'll only have the CSS needed for that section. It's like this CSS will have this section, the next CSS will have this left section, next CSS will have the content section, each one actually contributing to the page instead of just being unnecessary. Ooh, CSS and JSS? Yeah, that's never fun. Although, probably, from my experience, if you're just calling different CSS classes and stuff from JSS or JS, JavaScript, it's not too bad. But actually creating them in there, depending on how much coding they need, yeah, that can be a real pain. I remember one project I did, it literally took code from a SQL database, parsed it on the server and in VB, sent that some of that parsed text, just what the end user will actually use and view, to the user in JavaScript. And then from there in JavaScript, it would parse it to what the user actually sees in formatting wise through ASP.NET and HTML. And going between all those was not an easy task. Considering you got to call it from the ASP.NET and HTML, and go all the way back up to the server, and then all the way back down. Let's see. And I know I solved this problem before, I just can't remember how I did it for centering that up to down. Let's see, what was it? Oh yeah, I remember now. It was padding. Sorry, it took me a moment to think of that again. Oh, no, I don't want you in your own window. Go back here. There you go. Let's see. So padding. And this can be done a few different ways. You do padding and set one all around section. You set 2 values for padding. One's for top bottom, next one's for left and right. Or you can do padding for the 4 sides differently in 2 different ways. You can do padding left, right, top, bottom, so on and so forth. Or you can do padding and then do top, right, bottom, left. All in one line. But we just wanted as 2. Except I forget how many I wanted. Yeah. And this we're going to do a calculation for. So calc, wanted as 50% minus 1 EM. Oops, not 59%, 50%. This way it goes, actually no, 0.5 EMs. There we go. This way it goes halfway down and then back up half the height of a capital M, or a capital letter. EM's mainly for width, but when specifying letter height, it works just the same. And then left and right, we'll just leave as auto. And that should center it if I remember correctly. Nope, seriously? Why don't you like that? Let's see. To clarify, my project is a client-side rendering framework, sort of like React, but with a different approach to several things. Can't say I don't think I've ever used React. I've used Bootstrap and wasn't a real big fan of it. I'm kind of liking this W3 CSS a lot more than the Bootstrap version. Mainly for me, just because this is all done in CSS instead of JavaScript, which not everybody has enabled on their machines for security reasons. By default, it's turned on, but some people actually go turn it off. Let's see. One good thing about Firefox is you can do right-click and inspect element. And it will show you exactly the element. Like for home, the purple section is the padding, the blue section is the actual cell itself. Except why is the padding not working correctly? Huh. Invalid property value. Oh, it doesn't like auto. Oh, my bad. Inherit. Well, no, initial. No. Invalid property value still? Which one's invalid? Calc 50%, EM. There's nothing wrong with the formatting of that. Let's change this to 1 EM and see what happens. Let's just change to 50%, see if it even likes that one. Wow. Invalid property value. Seriously? How is that even invalid? Let's just leave it at 50%, see what happens. Still gonna tell me it's invalid? Huh. There's nothing that should be overriding this. Let's go and add something to this. Important. This way it sets this one to overwrite all others. That definitely works. Let's do this a little differently. 50% it doesn't seem to like, but since they're 100 pixels high, we'll do 50 pixels minus 1 EM. See if it likes that even. No. Let me guess. Invalid property value again. Yes. Why are you not liking that? Let's look it up. W3CSS. We'll just go to the regular. No, not the one I want. We'll just go up here then. Padding. Make sure it is right. There's 4 sides. 4 sides. Top right, bottom. Yeah, top and bottom. Left and right. Why are you not liking that? CSS padding calc. There we go. The calc function. So you can use add, subtract, multiply, and divide. No, let's just take initial out completely real quick. What the hell? Why are you still saying invalid property value and not working? Here, we'll even add that in just for S&G. Is the 0.5 EM? No. Still invalid property value. So I do 40 pixels. Wow, and 40 pixels? Yeah. Let's just try 30 real quick. Because yeah, 30 would definitely fit any which way. All 4 directions, 30 pixels. Because we're looking at 93 by 84 white big pixel box for the internals of it. But you're still saying invalid property value. Seriously. I want to CSS padding calc. And do you say specific properties you can be applied to? No. Just that you can be applied as a property value. And that you're supported by all current versions of web browsers. And I know you're definitely supported by this version of Firefox I'm running. Maybe it just doesn't like EM. Now let's just do this real quick. We'll do 50 pixels minus 20 pixels to give us a 30 pixel wide section. No, really. Seriously. Well, folks, I gotta take a short break real quick. We'll be back. Okay, folks, we're back. Now let's see what we can do about this display problem. Let's see, padding. Let's just leave it at 50 px and 20 px and see what happens. 20 pixels. You know, this isn't something I should have to put an important modifier on. Now let's try it this way real quick. See what happens. See what it tells me. Oh, calc. Oh, actually, let's do some px 0 for the padding. Okay, fine. I'll put an important modifier on you. Even though I shouldn't have to. Let's see. Calc height is still 100 px, so I'll do 50 px. Oh, I think I know what the issue is. There, wanted spaces right there. 0 0.5, oh, not 54 em. Take this out, and I'll do inherit. Seriously, invalid property value. Let's just do it this way. Padding top. Delete inherit. Is it going to tell me invalid? Yeah. Nope. Not invalid, just not quite right. Important. Oh look, it finally brings you down some. And again, tell me invalid again. Why on earth do you not like that? Padding. And here's the one we're using. For top and bottom, right and left. Let's see what happens if I just do one EM real quick. Seriously, let's Google this, see what happens. Padding won't accept two values. Okay, you know, I've had enough of this. Let's do you differently. Remove that class. We'll just do it this way. Button class equals W3 button home. Oops. Actually, no. It still needs a link. Now what are you going to tell me? Now you're going to put it at the end. Really? I mean, come on. Seriously, people. Work with me. And then you don't even look centered left to right. What the? Okay, fine. Let's take that button section back out. Let's just do it this way. Okay, seriously, you just kind of deleted the whole link. Let's put you back in. href equals nothing. Class equals a links home. Oh, wait. You're already there. Yeah. Let's come back over here. So all you have on your links is bar item and button. Bar item and button. So why aren't you working correctly? Oops, wrong button. Let's try this again. Oh, look, you display it now that I have the important tag on you. Now you're not even right. Let's see, 42.5 plus 42.5 is 85. Plus 40 is, right, plus 15. Yeah, that's 100. Are you centered? You don't look centered. There's a very easy fix for this. Firefox add-ons. And there's one in here called Measure It. Add to Firefox. Add. Go. Measure it. Let's go from here. Right about there for the top. So you're showing about 55 pixels. Okay. Really? Let's see, about 47 pixels and about 42 pixels. Why are you 5 pixels off? I thought you weren't centered. This is just getting to be ridiculous. And then you'll just ruin it. Yep. Let's run this more examples part. Fine. Let's do this way. So instead of inherit, let's put you at initial. Invalid property value. Really? You know, it shouldn't be this hard for padding to work. It's complete CSS reference. Uh, Basically just what's over on the left-hand side. Now let's just put you at 0. Oh, now it says you're displaying, but yeah, you're not even displaying it correctly. So yes, putting them correctly in the correct spots, top, bottom, right, left. Yeah, I want one. What happens if I change that to a plus? So we do still have EM, right? We should. CSS EM links. Yeah, CSS units. There's EM even. Relative to the font size of the element. 2EM means 2 times the size of the current font. And it's based off M because M is the widest letter. Well, probably M and W. Hmm. Just going to try it. Let's see. Let me say the do That's about right. You know, while I'm in here, let's just use it in here real quick. Setting calc 50% minus 0.5, oh, not 10.5, 0.5 EM and 0. Run. If we take you out, yeah, that's about right. If we reduce you down to just 1, or increase you to 1, and you see it's a little bit wider. So it works. Quite literally, it works. Put you at initial. Oops. Initial. Area. Run. Okay, you don't like initial. Really? Inherit. Run. But you work with 0, right? Yeah, you work with 0. And that's the exact same thing I'm using over here. Padding. Calc. 50. Now, right now I'm just using pixels, but oops. Let's just copy it over. And still not a. Let's talk some google.com w3.css center text vertically. Left line, right line, center line, but there's no vertical center. That one doesn't work. Display should work because that's based off something else. Let's see. Yeah, let's just try something. W3 dash display dash middle. Yeah, so I thought displays in the center of everything. Oh wait. Almost. Can it be a bar and a display container? Nope. Oh, there goes that idea. Let's see. Div style equals height of 100 pixels, width of 100 pixels. Oh, forgot about that. Vertical line, middle, P. I'll just put something in there. Run. Seriously? Background color equals, whoops, no, not equals, oh, I'm thinking blue. Save. Vertical line doesn't even work there. Seriously. So I don't care about the images. I want the text to be vertically aligned. Let's see. Vertical line. What options are you going to give me? Text bottom, text top, and nothing. Nothing useful. Units. And look, voila, you work there. How can I do a workaround for this? Well, let's try it this way. Div class equals a links. Take a links out of there. Whoa. But seriously. Oh, they're only 100 pixels big, so let's just put you at 50 pixels. That's what I thought you would do. So yeah, that's not going to work for me. Seriously, it should not be this hard to center one little link. My padding property works perfectly fine, as we've seen. That's, I don't want nothing too complicated in there. Knock it off. Just stay there. Let's do something. Href equals nothing. Class equals a links home. Oh, I forgot to put up there. There we go. Now things are looking better. Let's do dot a links. Let's make this format mostly like it can be. Div ID equals. Now we'll just name that ASDF. For the purposes of this, it works. Since all this basically is an A-link contained within a div. So above this, let's go and do ASDF. Height is 100 pixels. Width is 125 pixels. A-links. Padding. Calc. 50 pixels minus 0.5 EM. 0. Right. Huh. Let's give you a background color real quick. Background color blue. Red? Let's just take all that out so I don't get confused. Doesn't even the background color work here? Let's just do this here. RGB 2 and whatever. Oops, too big. You know, this is really annoying the crap out of me. Well, let's just try adding position in there. Position relative. Not the property as I forgot. Really? Are you going to want an absolute property for it? No. At least you're not telling me it's invalid. You're just not using it. Why is that? Huh? Okay, let's try that as an EX real quick. But apparently you're going to want the important modifier on there. Okay, now it got even smaller. What the hell? Fine, let's do 1 EM. Because now the width should be 2 EMs high. Yes, it is. What is going on here? Why aren't you going off the height of the text? That's what EM is for. The height of the text. Now let's see something. CSS EM not getting height of text. Yeah, let's see, what's this say? Okay, let's try run real quick. And I still want you 0.5. That way it's 0.5 up and 0.5 down for 1 rem total. Seriously. That's why I've spent more than an hour trying to figure out this one simple little thing. Let's comment the line out real quick. Actually, no, let's uncomment real quick. Now I've taken position absolute out. Nope, still not right. Go back to just regular EM, and nope, nothing. And now I should put display back at the top. And what happens if I do line height of 100%? Now will you take a vertical line? Probably not, but let's check. Nope. Because he almost looks centered to the naked eye, but not quite. You know what? Let's do line height unit. Wait. Chat, wasn't there a unit section in here? Specificity, huh? I want it to be absolute because everybody's display is going to be a little different. And I don't think EX worked, but we'll give it a shot and find out. It didn't work. Height of the viewport, height of, which I don't want. You know, line height, 22.5 pixels. I wonder why. parts. 100 minus 22.5 divided by 2. We'll try 38.75 pixels and see what happens. Oh look, you look centered now. Yeah. And do I still need the important modifier? Probably. Yep. Heaven forbid I don't label you as being important. Because we'll put it this way, the reason why important shouldn't work, or shouldn't have to be in there, because the way style sheets go. First, they go off of what is external, which would be the W3 CSS. Then it looks what's in the header section and goes off that. Then what's in the actual element, it goes off that. Well, we don't have any in the element, so it should be going off this. And not only that, but it's also the last class listed. So there's no reason it shouldn't be going off this. But apparently it wants to be difficult and make important a thing. But whatever. We got it fixed now. We'll move on for now. So as you see, we now have the main navigation done. So now we need to work on other parts. I'll get rid of that. Oh yeah. And we still have to do a second version of it for when the screen is small, like this. So that way we can do that. But that we'll wait until we have all these filled in. Oh no. It should go off just the top ones for this. Because what we're going to do, instead of having all these display, we're not even going to have this display. We're just going to have this icon up here with those different categories listed. So let's see. There's that. And we want to copy, and we'll just copy the div as well for it. And the end of this div is right there. So there. This is all going to be displayed in the top section. So let's go and take W3 bar out of there. Put it down here. W3 class equals W3 bar. Now theoretically this should not change anything. Let's go and indent this so we know. And as you see, it didn't. Everything's still displaying the same. So now what we need to do is copy this div. And there's the ending div. Back up here. Copy. And paste. So now we have two of them. But let's go ahead and start with taking the links out. At least the bottom ones, I should say. Yep, right now we'll give you an error, but that will all be fixed. But for now, it's going to take them out so that way there's less confusion. There we go. And on this one, we want to change it to W3 hide small. That way this one's not shown on the small screens. This one we're going to do hide medium and hide large. That way this one's not displayed on a medium or large screen. So we have two navigation bars in essence. And so let's see. This one we need it to be a bar block. And we can go ahead and for this one we don't need the A links in there. But we can go and copy this whole section and paste it right there. Now we're going to go back and fix the formatting of this later. Right now we just want them to be starting of the links. After fixing them will be easy. Take that div out. There we go. Now I'll just copy the A and paste it where all these buttons are. There we go. Oh, looks like I forgot to copy that sign. Oops. There we go. That looks better. So on large screen, it shouldn't show up. And on a small screen, it should just show us links. But there's a small screen. Yeah, let's get rid of these real quick. There we go. Now we're back to it looking pretty again. Not too many tabs open. Not sure what this is supposed to be about, but I guess we'll figure that out later. What that affects is this right here, the second bar. But what we need to do right now is add an icon. But we also need it to be a clickable drop down. So instead of a bar block, we want this as drop down content. And bar item still works. Wait, hold on. I'm sorry, not drop down content. Drop down click right now. Right here will be the drop down content. Div class equals w3 drop down content. And oh, what? This thing's they try to make this thing a lot more complicated than it needs to be, but we'll follow their format. So div class drop down click, and with a drop down, within it we need a button class equals w3 button on click equals, and we'll just label it drop down click. Now we're not going to have any words here. We're just going to have the icon. So now I class equals fa, and we'll finish filling that out here in a moment. And then there's the end of that image. And the end of the button. So from here we need div id equals small navigation class equals drop down content. Whoops, I messed that up. There we go, drop down content and w3 bar block, and we'll give it the same styling as the rest. w3 card 4. Whoops, card 4. And then go and close out that div. Come down here. Indent that so that way it looks better for readability. Now we need to insert some icon. Well, an icon. Now where'd the icons go? Icons, icons. Oh, there's the icons. So as you see, it says use an icon library. So it's kind of up to you which one you want to use. You see, they give you the link for the Font Awesome one. And that's all the more we'll really need. Just because we can. As you see, there's Bootstrap icons in the Bootstraps library. But let's go to the icon reference sheet. That way we can. So we get Font Awesome, Bootstrap, tutorial. There you go. Icon reference. Here's what we want. We can use Bootstraps, we can use Google's, or we can use two different versions of Font Awesome. But there's an issue with that. Fontawesome.com, most likely. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, so you have a whole bunch of them to choose from. But let's see, plans. So I don't care about that. Let's make sure we can use both sets of font awesome 4 and 5 before we proceed. And so once under cheat sheet. Yeah, it's definitely a cheat sheet. There's numerous different icons you can use. Yeah, here's the free icons you can use. As you see, there's going to be numerous ones with over 1,500 available. Like they even have some Amazon, Android, a whole bunch of them. What else we really need right now is just a simple menu looking one. And we'll just list them all real quick. Except we'll do this easy. We'll see if one has menu. There we go, menu. Let's see, so these are in the Bootstrap icon database. This one is in, let's see, looks like Google's database. Let's see which one we'll use. Can we use the Google one I just saved? Google. Restaurant menu we definitely don't want. We'll use Font Awesome. You should have one as well. Oh, they just call it bars. Let's see, Font Awesome 4 versus 5. Let's see, what exactly are the differences? Upgrading from version 4. Doesn't really seem to be a whole lot of difference, but we'll go with it. And the one we want was just bar. There we go. So what we want is fast, then FA-bars. So you see it still looks the same. And as we shrink it some. Oh, Why isn't the bars showing up? And I haven't put that part in yet, but the bars should at least show up. I haven't put that part in it yet. It should show without that section even. That's what I thought. Let's take that out. See, it should go like that. Well, I was going to put that in there real quick. W3-hide. Oh, good. Well, now it's hidden the bar completely because there's no width, no heights to it. Calculator can go bye-bye. Okay, so there's what they call demo. Oh, gotta come up here. Let's refresh this to back to what it should be. Yeah, this was the right one. Right? I've got myself all turned around here. Navigation. That's the one we wanted. This is the one we wanted, right? Yep, okay, good. So if I'm reading that correctly, right here I want to put a href equals JavaScript void 0 class equals w3 dash bar item w3 button, and we'll leave the right part out. w3 hide medium, w3 hide large, and on click, oops, drop down, click. Oops, I have that format completely wrong. Actually, I spin. There you go. Drop down, click. And right there's the number for the icon they're using. Let's see. Oh wait, I remember why our icon wasn't working. That's because I forgot to put the repository in. Yeah, Phantasm 5 requires you to have an account. Phantasm 4 doesn't. That's what I was going with 4. I remember now. There's that. And we'll just take the S out. I'm still not sure. So let's go and finish this out then. Let's see. So it was within A I wanted this icon. There we go. And that div, then begin this one. Take the button out. Wait, where did I get that button from anyways? Oh yeah, it's because I wanted it to be clicked, but that can go away. Taking one of those, which means you can be put back some. Now, drop down content. You are W3 bar block. Oh, I already had bar block. Sorry about that. This is. I also put to hide it on a large and medium screen. Let's take that card out for now. There we go. Now let's go ahead and add that scripting in real quick. Put it above the styles. Actually, no. Scripts are usually best left loaded to the end of the page for speed. So script, kind of like they have it there on W3C's website. Whoops. No, it's supposed to be indented. There we go. Function. Drop down, click. Now we want var x to equal document.get element by ID small navigation if x.class name.index of w3-show equals -1, which means it doesn't exist. Then you are going to add it. And that's what the plus and equals means, is to add to, not replace, and not do a mathematical addition. So basically append. If it does exist, then we want to remove it. Equals x dot class name dot replace this time w3 show. There we go. Okay, now that the heater's kicked off, it's getting a little chilly. Let's turn that fan down one. So now if that's all done correctly, they should work correctly. No, because I know that's definitely a small screen. There's the medium screen, so that's the small screen. Seriously, this one's supposed to be hidden on a small screen. So why aren't you hidden? Oh, you know, let's redo this a little bit. This way, just this part can be shown. And then we'll put it right there. And see, look, there's that icon. Yes, I know the address wasn't understood. Although, it shouldn't have to be understood right now. Because why isn't small hide, or hide small, working? Because yeah, there's the end of the hide small. Just before that link, that way it doesn't disappear. So yeah, there's that. The icon works, we know that much. Which is, oh, JavaScript. That could be part of it. Let's try this again real quick. Yep. So link works now, I think. It's just a matter of getting that whole section to hide on a small screen, of which it should be doing. You know, just like there's a hide small. I'm going to have to do this on every single link. Let's see what happens when I do. We'll just test it with home for now. Yeah, hide contents on small screens, less than 601 pixels. Display pixels, that is. Because, yeah, like this case, hide small, and it's the red section. And look, we're on a small screen and there's no red section. And that's in a div. Maybe it's because it's not set as a container? And if that's the case, let's see, W3-container. Shouldn't need it, but we'll double check it. No. Let's see, what happens if I just leave a blank and put it up here? W3 hide small. There was a reason I'd put it down below. You know, even so, if we take you out of there and put it down here, at least home should be hidden. Refresh. Home's hidden, but this menu has it permanently shown. So at least hide small we know was working. It's just why is this menu constantly being shown? Oh, I forgot to do the W3 hide. W3-hide. There we go. Now it should work. There we go. See, perfectly. Works just fine now. Mob if I remembered all the classes. See, there we go. We got our menu options for both sizes, or both formats. One for medium and large, and one for small screens. But if you notice, ours are much bigger than theirs, but theirs also aren't sized the same across all of them. Which we probably don't need ours to be sized the same either, but right now it works. We'll leave it at this. And their font's also smaller than ours. But we're just using the defaults right now. Like, let's see, theirs is, let's see, font size, yeah, 0.7 EM. So about 3/4 of the default font size. And one thing you can do as well, like we did with the icons, import a different library for them through the internet. You can do the same thing with fonts as well. That way you're not stuck with just what you what defaults the user would have on their system already due to having an internet browser on it. You can choose from numerous different fonts. You just gotta import the right repository for it, or at least link to the right repository. But now that we have that section done, so top section, we're leaving blank right now because we're not sure what's being put in it. Navigation sections, that's done for now. As see with theirs, since it's a clickable menu option, they can't have specific pages for each one. But when you go down to small screen, they just have view categories, and they have them coming out this way instead. Which I don't know about you, but on a small screen, categories like this, yeah, that's a little much for one category, if you ask me. Okay, let's enlarge this real quick. What's the most populated one? Additives, most likely is going to take the cake. Yep, additives is the biggest one. So let's see, additives. Yeah, that's a lot to scroll through. So yeah, we'll give them their own pages. But for now, let's go and do one last thing before I have to get off for now. Got a contractor coming here in a little bit, so it's going to make streaming a little hard for a little while. Plus, I got to charge my mouse and probably the headset. So what we're going to do right now, though, is create a second master page embedded within this master page for the left-hand side content, for the search filters. So let's come up here, new, file, master, and this one we'll call left master. And this time you want to go select master page. That way it can be embedded in a previous master page. So we'll come up here, select the main master for it. Of course, get rid of that design section. And we can get rid of that output section too. And as you see, it has the three sections on it again. But this time, we're going to want to do the left side still. So that's where we're going to put this content. So let's go and come over here to default. Take this left side content out and put it over here in the left master side. There we go. Now, since this one is not going to be feeding off this one, we want to change it. So up here on where it says main master, we'll put left side, or left master. I don't know why I did it master. I want it to be a side. Left side master. And we're just going to rename this one to actually be left side. Left side. There we go. And so now because of that, we no longer need this left side one over here. But we do need that center content one still. So over here under center content, we need to place a placeholder. So we can come over here to the toolbox. Once it loads. There we go. Let's see. Content placeholder. Double click it. And there's the content placeholder. We're just going to leave this one as content placeholder 1. Well, you know, actually, no, let's relabel it. CPH center content main. So there's that section, but now this section says it doesn't exist. And that's because we need to change that to content main. But then we also need one over here for the head section. So come over here, double click another one, and we'll call this one head main. Come over here, we'll label it head main, and there. So now we have the top section and the navigation over here, and we have the right side over here, with a couple placeholders for the left and center content. Then we'll come over here and get the left content, and have a placeholder for the center content. Come over here and get the center content as the final page. So now, when we load this should not change a single look. And voila, it does not. It now goes from the content page, starts off at the content page, embeds this into the left side master, then takes all that and embeds it into this main master. So now the main master can do the navigation, top section, and the ads. Left side can do the different search filters, depending on which page we're on. And then this section can have the actual content. So like the search criteria, that's going to all be gotten dynamically from the database as to what fields are available and what's within those fields. That way, if you're looking for an aquarium, we're not going to give options for like a 90 gallon per day and 180 gallon per day filter. They're just not relevant. You're going to want things like 75 gallon, 80 gallon, 90 gallon for the actual tank sizes. And vice versa. So that's how that part's going to work. So next time, we'll go ahead and fill in some more of these navigation sections. We'll fill in a couple of them to get a start off, get a handle of it. And then we'll also be working with the database. That way we can go in, create some tables, fill in some data, and use it to start creating other parts of the website. But until then, see you later, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.